Welcome into WagerTalk TV. I am Drew Martin, joined by Robbie Vino and Kevin Dolan of WagerTalk.com. We're talking college football playoffs here in the Rose Bowl, but it's in the state of Texas this year. We got Notre Dame versus Alabama, ACC versus SEC. Robbie, we're seeing a total of 65 and a half here with Alabama, the Crimson Tide, heavy favorites, near 3 touchdowns, minus 20 points as we're talking right now. What are you thinking with the Crimson Tide in the Fighting Irish?
Well, certainly the money likes Alabama right off the bat, right? I mean, if you just go based on what you saw last, which is what a lot of people do, then you find it hard to play Notre Dame, right? But I'll say this, you see Brian Kelly all over television here the last 24 hours saying that they look forward to a second chance to redeem themselves. And all that talk is nice. But at some point, Notre Dame has to step on the field and be able to prove it. Last week, guys, that offensive line, they couldn't budge Clemson in the run game. 30 rushing attempts for 44 rushing yards, 1.5 a carry. If I separate the sack yardage and give them just true rushing yardage, they're 24 carries for 83 yards, 3.5 a pop. It's not going to get it done when you're Notre Dame. So not only couldn't they budge Clemson in the run game, they couldn't keep them off of Ian Book. They allowed 6 sacks. That's got to be changed here. I mean, I know they're missing their starting center for the last 3 games, but 4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen for Notre Dame, who arguably, depending upon who you talk to or who you read, have the number one offensive line in the country. Boy, I mean, that's not good, and that's got to change here against Alabama if they're going to do any damage whatsoever. I think what's interesting about this matchup, guys, is real quick. They're just different matchups totally. For Notre Dame, you're going to get a pure pocket passer in Mac Jones. Whereas last game, you had to contend with Trevor Lawrence's ability to run. I just want to read you a quick quote here from Brian Kelly about the fundamentals of that game. He said his ability to run really stresses your coverage calls. So what you try to do is bring some pressures that eliminate those runs. It just opens up some one-on-one matchups that are not favorable. And with Jalen Waddle back for Alabama here at a team with Devontae Smith, there's a lot of unfavorable matchups to begin with for Notre Dame. So again, it's a different matchup. They don't have to worry about Trevor Lawrence running the football. Mac Jones won't do that, pure pocket passer. But they do have to contend with this offensive line, which opens up holes for 5 yards a game on the ground. Mac Jones only gets sacked once every 22 attempts. I think the biggest question of all is how's Notre Dame going to really move the football here unless they can run? They've got to change some things and be able to run. Alabama, for them, it's a different matchup as well. They faced all that explosiveness of Florida. Florida's pure pass, no real run. Notre Dame's run oriented, pass off of that. And Florida's defense is a lousy defense where Notre Dame's got a pretty good defense. So all things considered here, Drew, if you want to say that these games are style matchups, which I like to begin a handicap with, maybe Notre Dame, it could hang within 20. I'm just not sure that they can stop Alabama enough in this game to do so. Alabama hasn't been stopped all season long. Total here 65 and a half. And perhaps we get over the number, but I had under in the Clemson game. Not so sure I could get to either or here in this one. Notre Dame's one deep threat, Javon McKinley, probably going to be shut down by Patrick Surtain, the top corner in upcoming draft. I just don't know where the points are going to come from. I think right now we're talking so soon. I would probably have to lean towards Alabama, but it's nothing I've gone to the window yet with.
Good stuff, Robbie. And Kevin, coming over to you. Robbie hit on some good points there. Alabama, tough matchup in this one for Notre Dame. It's just Alabama's a tough matchup for everyone out there in college football, Kevin. It's just Notre Dame brings a good offensive line, a mobile, good quarterback, and a good defense. I don't know. Maybe they have a shot here to cover the 20. Heck, a puncher's chance to give Alabama a game. What are you thinking here, Kevin?
Oh, I think the Irish are going to win an absolute blowout, obviously, although I'm slightly biased on that fact. Look, Robbie covered it perfectly. On the surface, metrically, it might appear that both of these teams are pretty similar. Both top 20 in opponent rushing yards, both top 12 in offensive yards per point margin, so on. The problem, however, is like glaringly in the face. You have to pair those metrics against strength of schedule. And that's where Notre Dame falls short here. The Irish have faced just two top 25 teams all year, Clemson, UNC. They split that series against Clemson, as we all know. We got to remember there was no Trevor Lawrence for that first game, and Uwe Ungalale, as I believe his name is called, shredded that Irish defense for 439 yards to the air and 2 touchdowns. And look, even last week, Clemson were up 31-3 heading into that fourth quarter. So it's hard to see a scenario here where Alabama don't do something similar. They're definitely capable of it. I don't think we can read a whole pile into last week's close win against Florida for the Tide. They had that game in hand throughout. They're up 35-17 at the break and dominated time of possession and total yards in that game also. And I think they eased off the gas pedal last week looking ahead to this matchup. I expect Alabama to dominate in pretty convincing fashion here next Friday. It is a big line at -20, but I think this has the potential to be a blowout. So I would definitely take or lean. I don't know whether I'll get to the window like Robbie, but a strong lean to Alabama minus the points.
Oh, Kevin. All right. I thought you were going to go with the Irish there. Hey, last question to you, Kevin. No. In Ireland right now, is Notre Dame really the most favored team there in Ireland? Is everybody really a Notre Dame fan?
I'd definitely say so. We always get that, the college football classic. It could be, Navy versus Notre Dame, or, it was cancelled this year, obviously, with COVID, but it's something that I always, look forward to. And it's a huge event. We usually get about 80,000 in the stadium for that. So, I would say college football's more popular than NFL over here.
Wow, that's surprising. That's good stuff from Kevin Dolan over in Ireland. Check him out at WagerTalk.com, guys. Also, Robbie Vino as well, both good handicappers. And you see it there on the bottom of the screen. Coupon code HO 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 for the 7-day all access for less than $10 a day. It is bowl season, so take advantage at both websites, WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com.